Discover 12 miraculous end-times trials, what God's plan reveals for those who fail to endure. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, amid shadows of sin that cast a heavy pall over the land, there lived a man named Noah, a beacon of righteousness in a world lost to despair. The breath of the Almighty whispered to him, drawing him into covenant with the Creator, as the rest of humanity reveled in depravity. In the fertile expanses of Mesopotamia, he labored in golden fields, with rivers shimmering like silver ribbons through undulating hills, his heart anchored in faith as wickedness flourished all around. Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God, echoes the sacred text, the scriptural lineage of his legacy unfolding. The darkness that enveloped the earth was palpable. Each act of violence and contempt resounded in the heavens like a clanging cymbal, a remonstrance against the glory of God's ways. Yet, amid this chaos, the heavens opened their ears, and casting out a call into the void, the Lord spoke to Noah. Make for yourself an ark of gopher wood, he instructed, detailing the dimensions and the means of construction, aligning purpose with purpose. As the first hammer struck against the wood, the mocking began. Neighbors and relatives, infatuated with their own ways, gathered to jeer at the man they deemed insane. What folly is this? A ship upon dry land, they howled, their derision piercing the air. Yet, with each swing of the hammer, a reverent silence enveloped Noah's spirit, reminding him of the divine voice that had commanded him. He pressed forward, a labor of love crystallizing in the form of salvation, his heart aching for those who rejected the truth. Decade after decade, he bathed in hope, even when the mocking escalated to a cacophony of disbelief. The moral conflict weighed down his soul. To abandon the very kin who sought his ruin seemed an unbearable choice. Yet, with each day, he found that the promises of God eclipsed the transient laughter of men. The whispers of the Spirit reassured him, a reminder that his obedience was not merely for his family but for generations to come. A flicker of hope amidst impending doom. As time ebbed, the patience of God, a gift cloaked in silence, stirred anxiety in Noah's heart. What awaited beyond the confines of the ark? Would he survive the cleansing waters of divine judgment? Every swing of the hammer was an invitation to ponder the depth of mercy that loomed on the horizon. Would his family anchor in the faith that he had chosen, or would they drown in the ignorance of their ways? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. The final plank settled into place with a resonant thud, a triumphant completion marking the sanctuary of the covenant. Just beyond the door lay a world ignorant of the portents that loomed ominously above them. The heavens darkened, a harbinger of the storm to come, and as Noah stood resolute, the laughter faded into a haunting silence. What marvels awaited outside? Would he embody the fulfillment of divine promise, cradled within the embrace of the Lord's faithfulness while the world sat unaware of the approaching deluge? Here, at the threshold of faith and obedience, the anticipation of God's mighty work beckoned, leaving the future wrapped in divine mystery. And it came to pass, when all was prepared, that the Lord spoke to Noah once more, saying, "Enter the ark, you and all your household, for you alone have I seen righteous before me in this generation." With trembling hands and a heart full of resolve, Noah gathered his family, his wife, their 3 sons, and their daughters-in-law and led them into the refuge prepared by divine decree. One by one they stepped into the colossal vessel, while the sun's last rays dwindled, casting eerie shadows upon the ground. As the final light faded, the Lord commanded Noah to seal the door. And the Lord shut him in, the sacred record declares, Genesis 7 verse 16. A silence deeper than the void beyond enveloped them, and they found themselves ensconced within the embrace of God's covenant, shielded from the taunts of a blasphemous world. Outside, the very fabric of creation stirred, as if responding to the Creator's command. Then, the heavens opened as mighty torrents surged forth, and the earth itself contributed to the chaos, as deep fountains broke forth from beneath. Rain fell relentlessly, a deluge purposed to cleanse the earth of its transgressions and wickedness. Noah and his family looked around in fear and wonder, knowing that the hour of judgment had arrived. In that tumultuous hour, Noah remembered the words spoken by the Almighty, his heart shielding him against fear. For in 7 days I will send rain upon the earth, the Lord had declared. Each drop that struck the roof of the ark became a reminder of grace mingled with judgment. The cries of the damned could be heard, echoing against the walls of the ark, but within, a peace that surpasses all understanding settled over the righteous. As days turned into agonizing weeks, and the seas rose higher, Noah's heart was weighed down by the fate of those outside the unrepentant who had scorned the warnings. Would any ever acknowledge the true God amidst their plight? His spirit wrestled with the gravity of love and justice. He prayed, beseeching the Lord for mercy on those who had driven him to toil in isolation for years. 40 days and 40 nights, the rains poured, and the floodgates of heaven opened. The earth was transformed into an expanse of turmoil, drowning the very sins that had brought forth this sorrow. Yet, in the solitude of the ark, Noah and his family clung to the promise of the Lord, the covenant that swirled around them like a protective balm. Each thundering wave became a hymn of remembrance, ever reminding them of the Creator's unwavering faithfulness. As the floodwaters receded, and time stretched forward, Noah grew restless in spirit. Days turned to months, and hope mingled with despair. Each heartbeat echoed the Lord's promise that their righteous legacy would resonate through the ages. Would his children find favor before the Lord? Would they cultivate faith in a world that had turned to chaos? At last, at the dawn of the new age, God summoned Noah's spirit with a gentle whisper. "Consider the rainbow," he said, "for it shall be a token of my covenant with you and every living creature." As the clouds parted and sunlight broke forth, a resplendent arch appeared in the heavens, a vivid reminder of God's unshakable promise never again to flood the earth. Yet Noah remained unaware that his legacy was but the beginning of a greater narrative, woven within the cosmos. The divine plan remained shrouded in anticipation, a tapestry yet to unfold. Somewhere in the threads of time, awaited new revelations of God's sovereign grace, beckoning the faithful to seek and find the truths entwined in his perfect will. And it came to pass, as the days of the flood dwindled, that the waters began to subside. The very earth, once soaked with the sorrow of judgment, lay shrouded in an otherworldly stillness, a silence pregnant with expectation. Noah, within the ark, felt the gentle lurch of the vessel resting upon the mountaintops, yet unease danced within him, for he yearned to glimpse the land from which he had been severed. "Lord," he prayed fervently, "when will you call me forth from this refuge? When shall we behold your creation again, unmarred by the wickedness that plagued it?" The weight of his intercession rose before the throne of grace, a fragrant offering in the confines of the ark. In answer, God spoke, though his voice was as the faintest whisper amongst the stillness, "You shall wait, for my purpose is yet unfolding." Then, on the 27th day of the 2nd month, the Lord commanded Noah to send forth the appointed creatures, to test the waters that had both blessed and cursed the earth. Noah with trembling hands released a raven, for it was unclean, flying to and fro, seeking rest but finding none. Next, he released a dove, which winged its way into the unknown. 7 days passed, and as Noah watched and waited, his heart swelled with hope. When the dove returned, it bore an olive branch, not an ordinary sign, but a symbol of peace, and of God's restoration, fulfilling the ancient promise given long ago unto creation. He beheld the bird in awe, yet what he felt was a weighty comfort, for he began to grasp that God's covenant even extended beyond him, to all living things. The dove became a herald of a new beginning. It circled above the waters that still clung to the earth, yet were now relinquishing their hold as God's hand swayed them back. When another 7 days passed, Noah once more released the dove into the void. This time, however, the dove returned no more. The Lord had spoken, and the earth awaited its Redeemer. "The waters have receded," said God, "and the time has come for you to emerge." With reverence and trembling spirit, Noah opened the door of the ark, stepping forth onto the new world that awaited. The earth, once reshaped by divine judgment, lay before him a canvas ready for the stroke of faith, a promise of future generations, imbued with hope. Upon the altar of the earth, Noah built an offering unto the Lord, a sweet aroma rising to heaven, worship amid the ruins of the past. The Almighty inhaled the sacrifice, and the heart of God was stirred. He vowed, "Never again will I curse the ground because of man," and thus covenant was reaffirmed against judgment, so that the course of time could continue. In the days that followed, as Noah and his family began to cultivate the soil, the Lord whispered secrets of creation to him, elevating his understanding of divine design. "From you shall arise nations," the voice echoed through the valleys, "and through your lineage shall all the earth be blessed." Yet herein lay the divine mystery, for little did Noah know that hidden within God's decree was the shadow of a greater promise, echoing through the ages, a promise that would ultimately reshape the very fabric of humanity. For as the rainbow painted the skies, so too did God's sovereign plan beckon forth the manifestation of a Savior, yet to come, whose grace would redeem from the trials of this world. What awaited in the fullness of time, beyond the bounds of Noah's understanding, remained a wondrous secret held tightly within the heart of God, yet poised to transform all who would thirst for righteousness. And it came to pass that as the sun rose upon the earth with a vibrant glow, Noah stood in the midst of his family, marveling at the beauty of a world renewed. The verdant expanse, once soaked in judgment, now flourished with life, each blade of grass and vibrant flower singing praises to the Creator. The air was thick with possibility, yet alongside the hope flickered a shadow of the burden Noah carried. He knew the hearts of men. "Be fruitful and multiply," commanded the Lord, echoing the ancient words spoken in the garden before the fall. Noah gathered his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. "Let us heed the voice of the Lord and populate the earth, for we are custodians of a covenant forged in the fabric of creation." With each passing day, the family embraced their task, planting seeds and tending the soil, but shadows of the past lingered in their hearts. For Noah recalled the wickedness that had flooded the earth, the cries of the lost souls, pleading for mercy that had not come. The weight of that knowledge pressed upon him, for he had witnessed God's wrath and mercy in one unfathomable act. "Lord," he prayed in solitude, "how shall we nurture this new beginning? How can we ensure that the hearts of our descendants remain steadfast in your truth?" The heavens were silent, yet Noah felt the whisper of providence surrounding him, holding him in divine embrace, and God, ever faithful, spoke once more, "Noah, I have set my bow in the cloud as a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. It shall come to pass, whenever I bring clouds over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. This shall be a reminder of my promise to you and to every living creature." The brilliance of the rainbow painted the sky, vibrant shades of azure and gold intertwined, a testament to God's unyielding faithfulness. Noah stood entranced, knowing that amid the beauty lay the weight of responsibility. As the earth thrived, tales of the flood echoed through generations, and fear began to settle in the hearts of those who dwelt upon the land. Distrust and pride waxed, Satan stirred within them a longing for self-sufficiency, as nations began to rise from Noah's lineage. Whisperers spoke of rebellion, and each family sought to carve out its legacy. In the stillness of one evening, as crimson and purple hues graced the horizon, Noah gathered his sons and spoke with a voice both firm and wise. "Hear me, my beloved sons. There are trials that shall come upon the earth, challenges of the spirit and of the flesh. Hold fast to the ways of the Lord, for his hand will guide the just and protect the faithful." "What manner of trials, Father?" inquired Ham, a fear emerging in his voice. "The trials that shall refine your faith," Noah replied. "Those who walk contrary to God will see great tribulations, yet it is through endurance that we shall behold the glory of his promises fulfilled." Thus Noah continued to teach his children, instilling within them the reverence of the Lord. Yet, the clouds of rebellion began to thicken in the hearts of men. Amidst the bustle of new life and the harmony of creation, God's sovereign plan weaved through time a thread of grace, yet a path of trial for those who would fail to turn back to him. For little did Noah know, as he walked among the trees and spoke of righteousness, that from his lineage would emerge a people whose hearts would endure great trials, testaments to God's mighty hand still unfolding through the ages. The mystery remained, wrapped in the scroll of time, beckoning forth a deeper understanding of faith that would arise in the last days. What awaited the children of Noah in the fullness of time, remained hidden a divine revelation poised to reveal the depth of God's sovereign grace, one that would call forth the souls of his chosen to endure to the end. And it came to pass that as the days grew long and the seeds that were sown sprang forth into lush harvests, the hearts of men began to sway under the weight of vanity and ambition. Nations rose, each family in Noah's line knitting their own destinies from the fabric of pride, forgetting the terrible flood and the covenant bestowed from on high. As the years progressed, the descendants of Noah scattered across the face of the earth. Shem established his dwelling in the land of the east, where he reared a people steadfast in their reverence. Japheth ventured forth into distant lands, his lineage stretching far and wide. Ham, however, found himself drawn to the allure of power and wealth, desiring dominion over the lands, and his heart began to wane from the remembrance of the Almighty's warning. Noah, ever watchful and prayerful, observed the flickering flames of rebellion within his sons and the lives they began to build. One day, as he sat upon the hillside overlooking his fields, filled with a deep anguish, he cried out to the Lord. O God of my fathers, what shall become of this new generation? Will they also turn their hearts away from your ways? In that moment, the Spirit of the Lord moved upon him, bringing forth visions of what was to come. He saw towers reaching high, built by those whose dreams were not of seeking God but rather of glorifying themselves. He beheld cities founded on pride, their foundations crumbling under the weight of disdain for the divine covenant. With urgency in his heart, Noah summoned his family to him one fateful evening. As the stars twinkled above them, he spoke, "Hearken, my children. The Lord is merciful and slow to anger, but it is not without justice. From the abundance of his grace, let not your hearts forget the fragility of our promise. For as the earth remembers its judge, so shall you be reminded of the path laid before us." "My father," spoke Shem, concern etched across his brow, "is there not a way to turn the hearts of men back to the Lord? Can we not remind them of the covenant?" "Indeed, my son," Noah replied, "but the wanderings of the heart are deep, and the grip of temptation is strong. It shall take great faith and works forged in love to draw them back. Be seekers of truth, for many shall fall into darkness." Meanwhile, in the realms of men, the seeds of rebellion blossomed into dark ideologies. They convened together in a great valley, their tongues weaving together languages of pride, proclaiming, "Come, let us build a tower whose summit shall reach the heavens, let us make a name for ourselves, and be scattered no more." Their hearts whispered a shadow of unity, but it was unity apart from God, destined for chaos. As Noah witnessed this uprising, his spirit trembled with the weight of foreknowledge. He fell on his face before the Lord, pleading for mercy upon the earth. "O Lord, spare your creation from the folly of wickedness. Show mercy, that they may turn and be redeemed." And God was silent, his gaze fixed upon the tribes of men. It was then that the Lord spoke into the stillness. "Noah, the hearts of men are far from me, yet the hour of reckoning draws near. I will confound their language, and by this, they shall scatter upon the face of the earth. Yet behold, a remnant shall remain, for my covenant shall not be broken." With these words heavy in his heart, Noah understood that through calamity would come grace. The remnant of those who maintained faith through trials would emerge stronger, for divine purpose weaved through their tribulations. Thus, the shadow of the tower loomed ever larger, while Noah and his family brimmed with anticipation of what would come. For the depths of God's plan lay beyond that which was seen. What trials awaited the descendants of Noah in their pursuit of self, and how would God's sovereign grace manifest amid the rising storm? This divine mystery danced in the air, reminding all that the Creator's hand was never far from his creation. And it came to pass that in those days, as the hearts of men grew more calloused, they united in their determination beneath the sun's blazing gaze. From the east to the west, they commenced their great endeavor, gathering bricks and tar, proclaiming near and far, "Let us ascend to the heavens. We shall craft a monument to our names, one that shall never be forgotten." Then the Lord looked upon their works, their ambition soaring like an unbridled fire. He perceived their hearts, steeped in defiance, yet filled with the shadows of a chaotic union. In their pride, they once more sought to usurp the order established from the beginning. But the bowels of the earth roared with a disquiet, the heavens trembled at their brazen cry. Noah, in his solitude, grew weary with the words of the Lord echoing in his mind. For every stone laid upon that tower was a stone lifted against the sky, a rebellion against the Creator. He stood upon the hillside, his spirit encumbered, knowing the weight of dire consequences loomed over them like the gathering clouds before a storm, that he was moved within himself to gather the faithful. He turned to Shem, who had stirred his heart. "Come, my son, let us take this message to the people of our kin. Perhaps there still remains a heart inclined towards mercy. Let us speak of God's covenant, and of his great compassion, lest the whole earth be lost in the throes of pride." With diligence, they traveled to the assembly, their voices steady and their message clear. "Brothers and sisters," cried Noah, "the Lord our God has spoken to us. He is a righteous judge, and even now he weeps for our transgressions. We must turn back, lest we become as the dust scattered to the wind." But the people, engulfed in their plans, laughed in derision. What folly to heed the warnings of a relic! They scoffed. "The tower shall reach the heavens, and our names shall live forever." In the face of condemnation, their pride grew, and they hardened their hearts. The unity that bound them together was predicated upon rebellion, and no voice of reason could sway the tempest. Then the Lord, full of compassion yet powerful in his judgment, descended from heaven to see the city and the tower which the children of men had built. And he said, "Behold, the people are one, and they have one language. This is only the beginning of what they will do. Nothing will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." Thus it was that God did divide their tongues, and as they stood bewildered, one from the other, the confusion brought forth an unraveling of their bonds. The ambitions that once soared high turned to folly as they were scattered across the earth in tribes and nations, speaking in tongues unfamiliar. In the silence left behind, Noah and his household remained steadfast, their faith anchored in the promise of God's covenant. Heartache mingled with relief, for the Lord had upheld his word, and the storm of rebellion had quelled with the wind of divine decree. But in the midst of this scattering, as hopes turned to despair, a glimmer of something wondrous was kindled. The very act of confusion laid bare the potential for new beginnings. God, in his sovereignty, was not merely bringing judgment, he was crafting a mosaic of nations, each a testament to his enduring mercy and grace. And so it was, a new dawn broke upon the earth, the sun rose over the scattered remnants, each carrying within their hearts the memory of the one true God. Little did they know that from these broken pieces, his plan was still unfolding. For in the very act of dividing their tongues, God would weave together a promise of restoration, one that would one day bring reconciliation to the divided hearts of all mankind. What greater purpose lay hidden within the turmoil of their rebellion, and how would the Father's plan unfold through the generations yet to come? The mystery of his sovereign designs loomed large, waiting to be revealed in the fullness of his time. And it came to pass that as the nations were scattered and the tongues were confounded, the descendants of Shem, Ham, and Japheth began to inhabit the lands allocated to them. Each tribe established its own customs and ways, yet the hearts of men still longed for unity and understanding. In the plains of Shinar, amidst the ruins of their once great ambition, new cities arose. Amongst these was a city called Babel, a remnant of the prideful endeavor, now a symbol of division. But in this land, a man named Nimrod emerged, a mighty hunter before the Lord. And he gathered unto himself men of strength, enticing them with promises of power and prosperity. "Let us build a new tower, one that shall eclipse the memory of the last. From its heights, we shall command the earth." The people, drawn by his fiery words and strength, began to rally once more, believing that together they could surmount their newly given barriers. Little did they know, the echoes of the Lord's discontent lingered in the shadows of their minds, a bitter reminder of their forefathers' folly. Meanwhile, Noah, now aged, reflected on the covenant given by God. He spent much time in prayer, seeking wisdom and insight for the generations that followed. His heart was heavy, burdened with the knowledge that pride leads to destruction, yet he held fast to the Lord's promise, "I establish my covenant with you and your descendants after you." Genesis 9 verse 9. One fateful evening, as the sun's rays painted the skies with golden hues, the Lord spoke to Noah in the stillness, saying, "Look upon my creation, for I am preparing a way where there seems to be none. The hearts of men are hardened, yet I shall show mercy in unexpected ways. From the mouths of those who lift their hearts to me shall come understanding. And so it was that Noah gathered his family and shared the vision laid upon his heart. The Lord commands us to be watchful and prayerful. His ways are not our ways, and his plans are far beyond our understanding. We must prepare for the dawn of a new covenant that extends beyond the boundaries placed by men. As the years flowed like rivers, the scattered nations began to cultivate the lands, but the unity they sought evaded them, and tribes began to war against one another. In the hearts of those who remembered the God of Noah, a flicker of hope remained, whispered through the generations, recalling the covenant made upon the ark. They knew that God had not forgotten them. Then came a day when the Spirit of the Lord moved upon the hearts of men, and they began to seek him in the desolate places, calling upon his name. They remembered the days of old when their forefathers walked in communion with God. In this seeking, the Lord stirred anew his mercy and declared, "A day will come when I shall pour out my Spirit on all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy." Joel 2 verse 28. The promise of restoration burned in the soul of every believer, igniting a yearning for the fulfillment of he who was to come. Yet in the shadows of this fervor, the designs of Nimrod and his followers advanced, seeking to fortify their grasp on unity without the Lord's guidance. Unbeknownst to them, their ambition was a bait, a snare laid by the enemy against the plans of God. Beware, Noah warned in his heart, the enemy will rise to replicate what only the Lord can truly fulfill. And though the nations were divided, and their spirits troubled, the Lord watched patiently over the unfolding play. With each passing day, they whispered promises of glory, unaware of the true glory that would soon emerge from the chaos. In the distance, as a new day dawned, the winds of destiny began to stir, soon to deliver the greatest proclamation of all, one that would unite the fragmented hearts of mankind once more. Would they recognize the hand of God when he moved among them, or would they, like before, remain in stubborn pride? Thus, the mystery of God's sovereign plan lay cloaked in the fabric of time, beckoning those who would seek him, to trust in his ways as they prepared for what lay ahead. And in those days, as the laborers of Babel toiled upon their great tower, a shadow loomed upon their hearts, for the Lord saw the intentions of men in their hearts that had grown callous. With every stone laid, the spirit of ambition roared louder, yet it drowned out the whispers of the hope that beckoned from the heavens. Then, behold, the Lord revealed himself once more upon the plains of Shinar. His presence unfurled like the lightning that flashes in the sky, and in the midst of their confusion, a divine voice echoed, "Not by strength nor by might shall the plans of men prevail, but it is by my Spirit that I shall accomplish my will." Amidst this pronouncement, Nimrod stood firm, a proud figure amongst his kin, blind to the warnings of the Almighty. "Fear not," he proclaimed, "for we shall elevate ourselves above the clouds. We shall establish our name among the heavens." His words danced on the lips of his comrades, and fervor descended upon them like intoxicating wine, yet the heart of the Lord grieved. Meanwhile, Noah's heart remained steadfast, for he sought the wisdom of God for understanding. One evening, as he prayed, the Lord whispered to him again, saying, "Arise, Noah, and declare my promise to your kin, for a day shall come when I will turn the hearts of all people back to me." With a heavy heart, Noah summoned his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. "Listen to me," he said, "the journey ahead is fraught with trials, but we shall not walk alone. The Lord has not forsaken his covenant. Gather the people," he urged, "and let them know of the mercy that is to come, for even in the midst of their rebellion and ambitions, his Spirit shall not remain hidden forever." Yet, as he spoke, the cries of despair echoed from the nearby lands, where fellow tribes advanced against one another in violence, blinded by the haze of rivalry. "Fools!" cried a voice, and it was the voice of one who had resisted the truth of the Almighty. "Why seek the unseen when power is here in our grasp? Let us build and conquer. The Lord is but a myth." And the hearts of many swayed towards this barren belief, their souls darkening with pride, but hope had not yet been extinguished. There were those who lingered in the shadows, whispering prayers to the God of Noah. Seeking his face, they sought him with earnest hearts, building the foundation of faith upon the covenant spoken through the ages. And the Lord looked down, and his heart yearned for his creation. Now I shall descend to see whether they are as one, or whether they will heed my call, he resolved. And as he came closer, the air shimmered with divine justice and unyielding love. In a moment of reckoning, the tower quaked, not from the hands of men, but by the will of God. As the workers halted, disbelief flooded the mind of Nimrod, for suddenly they spoke in tongues unknown, confounding their purpose. Their unity shattered like glass, and they stood bewildered, seeking answers amid the chaos they had sown. I had promised understanding, the Lord murmured, but they believed their own might could prevail. In the hearts of those who had prayed, the Lord stoked a flame of courage, and they raised their voices in praise, proclaiming his goodness amidst the disarray. Nimrod, witnessing the unraveling of their plans, turned in fury to the people, yet the light of the Almighty suffused the place. Shall we not turn back? Some cried. Is this not the hand of God upon us? And in the din of confusion, a new resolution was born, a desire to seek the face of the Lord where once there was only the pursuit of greatness through human endeavor. Thus the seeds of a greater awakening began to take root, unseen to many, yet orchestrated by the heavenly hand. As the atmosphere trembled, there arose voices echoing throughout the land, when will we recognize the glory yet to come? For the true uniters of the nations is still to reveal himself. Thus the Lord watched over the unfolding drama unfolding, and he smiled upon the hearts that sought him, while the Tower of Babel stood as a testament to pride, a mere shadow of the glory that was yet to come. The divine tapestry of his sovereign plan intricately weaved through the chaos, heralding a future drenched in hope. A revelation lay just beyond the horizon. Soon they would witness the fulfillment of what God had promised, a bridge through their brokenness, a path laid open to redemption. Would they grasp it, or remain ensnared in the cycles of despair? The mystery deepened, as the heart of God beckoned. The time is drawing near for my plan to unfold. Are you ready to receive what I cast before you? And it came to pass in those days of great upheaval that the air was thick with uncertainty, and the hearts of men were troubled. The Tower of Babel stood defiant, a monument to their pride, yet its purpose now lay at the mercy of the Almighty's decree. As the tongues of confusion stirred among the laborers, the darkness within them began to challenge the light. Nimrod, furious, raised his voice above the tumult, demanding order amidst the chaos. Foolishness has gripped you, he shouted. Where is your resolve? We shall not cower. We are the masters of our fate. But deep within the crowd, a whisper of faith ignited as the prayers of the righteous ascended like incense before the throne of God. Among them stood Enoch, the descendant of Seth, whose heart burned with the truth of the Most High. Brothers, he cried, in the midst of this confusion, do not be led astray. The Lord's hand is upon us for good, that we might turn our eyes to him before it is too late. Yet many laughed, for their hearts were hardened, and they clung to the delusion of their own strength. The very stones they laid in pride became weights upon their spirits, binding them in their folly. But the Lord spoke forth in divine compassion, awake, O dwellers of the earth. Your ambition has led you astray, behold the signs of my approaching judgment. In the throes of disarray, Noah and his sons ventured forth to the crowds, their hearts heavy with love for those blinded by their pursuits. Hear us. Noah called, for the God of heaven desires to restore you, to mend the divisions that have caused your hearts to wander. Do not let pride be your downfall. Yet even as he spoke, the mighty tower loomed behind, a symbol of their rebellion against the Creator. And as the sun began to set, casting shadows across the land, the people continued to resist. The very bricks of their construction trembled, and the heavens thundered as a warning. The Lord of hosts is not mocked. Came the voice of the Almighty. What you sow, you shall reap. At that moment, an utter stillness descended upon Babel, and a shimmering light enveloped the place, casting away the shadows. The hearts of those who prayed were emboldened, and they stood firm against despair. Let us return to the God who made us. They declared, joy breaking forth like the dawn, but still the tongue of Nimrod stirred against them, and he seized the moment to rally those whose hearts had become cold. Fear not the words of the foolish. He raged. Whatever force thunders above us, we shall overcome. Lay the stones, raise the tower higher, for we are conquerors born to rule. Yet God's Spirit moved sovereignly, and a great chasm formed in their unity, scattering them far and wide. The pillars of Babel cracked, and in their despair, many turned to flee. Then came the still, small voice of God echoing in the hearts of the faithful. A new day shall dawn, and the nations shall be restored to their place. For I have not abandoned my promise. Hear me, O children of men, I prepare a redemption that will traverse the earth, uniting those who seek my face. And in that twilight hour, the scattered ones wandered, but lo, in the deep recesses of their hearts, a flicker of hope ignited. They carried with them the sacred truth that the Lord would not forsake his people, and they began to seek him in their loneliness. Thus the Lord watched over the throng as they departed from their confounding tower, and a plan began to unfold, a promise that reached beyond the prideful hearts of Babel. The tide of destiny swelled with anticipation, for in his sovereign design, God would stir the hearts of nations, and through the brokenness of humanity, a new reality awaited. Would they heed the call to turn back to the Father, or would the cycle of division continue unabated? For even as the world turned, the heart of God whispered across the ages, "Prepare ye the way for what shall come, for I will not delay my revelation much longer. A harvest awaits beyond this season, and the true glory of my name shall be known among all nations." And it came to pass that the echoes of Babel settled into the shadows of history, as the people, scarred by their folly, began to wander far and wide. Among them, the faithful still clung to the remnants of the promises of God, their hearts yearning for the restoration of unity cast asunder. The Spirit of the Almighty stirred within them. They sought the God of Noah, the God of covenant, whose mercy transcended the chaos wrought by pride. That in the days that followed, the sons of Noah and their descendants spread across the earth, each clan forging its own identity amid the vast landscapes. Yet rumors of a divine plan emerged from the lips of the faithful, as whispered tales of hope flowed like rivers through the canyons of despair. With every generation, the faithful nurtured the seed of God's promise, awaiting the glorious unfolding of his sovereign design, and one day, after many years, the people of Shem heard a call, a voice that rang true to the promise in their hearts. "Return unto me," it beckoned. "For I have not forgotten the covenant made with your forefather." Those who responded gathered in solemn assembly, a remnant rising from the shadows to stand resolute in faith. Their prayerful gathering caught the attention of the Lord, as he looked upon them with affection. "The time is drawing near," he declared, "for I will send one who shall unite all nations unto myself, one who will span every heart with redemption." Hope surged within the congregation, as they recounted the tales of Noah and the immeasurable faith woven into his legacy, and although the world was scattered, the expectation of unity blossomed like flowers in the spring. The hearts of the faithful brimmed with resolve, for they understood the calling to embrace the covenant anew, to labor in love, and to lift their voices in unison. Meanwhile, the nations stood divided, consumed by their pride and ambition, yet in the hearts of the humble, the promise of salvation glimmered bright. For as the years turned, a light began to break through. The ultimate promise that would forever alter the course of history was to manifest. In the fullness of time, God had whispered to the waiting generation, "I shall unveil the one who comes to seek and save the lost, to bind the broken, and to illuminate the darkened hearts." Then, one fateful night, under the radiant stars, the heavens pierced with angelic heralds announcing the birth of a child, Emmanuel, God with us. Born not in the halls of power or surrounded by kings, but in humble settings, amidst the very essence of humanity, a proclamation rang out, "Peace on earth, goodwill towards men." The long-awaited Savior had come, and with him, the promise of restoration echoed through creation. Even as the child grew in wisdom and stature, he spoke words of life and comfort, calling forth the weary, healing the broken, and inviting all to partake in the covenant grace that awaited. The legacy of Noah was not in vain, for each heart that turned to Christ was a testament to the faithfulness of the Almighty. As Jesus moved among the people, he drew forth the threads of unity, weaving together the remnants of humanity with each gentle act of kindness. The darkness of Babel was countered by the light of his presence, and before long, the Spirit descended like fire at Pentecost, unifying hearts across languages, affirming that God's promise extended far beyond the limits set by men. The faithful of every nation and tribe rejoiced, realizing the beauty of diversity was now part of the divine tapestry. they were bound together in Christ, as one body, with many members. With every soul that believed, the rebuilding of that once shattered unity began. And so it is written, "Behold, I am making all things new," Revelation 21 verse 5. In the end, God's purpose was fulfilled not through the grand towers of pride, but through the humble hearts that embraced the grace of Jesus Christ, the very embodiment of his covenant. Beloved friends, know this truth: God's promise is alive and active today. You stand at the threshold of history, called to be partakers in his great redemptive plan. Embrace him now, and as you do, let your voice join the chorus of the faithful across the ages, declaring the goodness and glory of our God. Now is the moment. Subscribe immediately to this channel so you won't miss the next powerful biblical stories that will uplift your spirit and ignite your faith. Leave a like now. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth through the algorithm, and let God's word reach those in need. I invite you to comment your reflections and share how this biblical tale has impacted your journey of faith. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear of God's truth. Your actions can bring hope and healing as we witness his great salvation unfold together.